Alaikum. Today we're going to start with another wave of feminism, which is known as the second wave of feminism. We're going to discuss about its background, its achievements, the purpose of this wave, and a bit of its shortcomings as well. So, with the demarcation or the start of this wave actually started in 1960s at the end of the Second World War, and it went till 1980s. It was basically focused on the issues of equality and discrimination between the women and men rights. Second World War ended, and women had to return to their normal household chores and their roles as housewives and mothers. So basically, this wave started as a reaction of returning to their normal lives. The men, which left the workforce to join the defense forces, they had returned. They had to return to their normal jobs, and women were fired from their positions, and they were replaced by men. So it was actually arose for the reason of antagonism. Actually, in 1960s, almost 38% of American women who worked at that time, but the jobs were very limited. They worked as teachers, nurses, or secretaries. Women were actually expected to quickly resume their lives as loyal and subjugated wives, and they spend almost 55 hours as an average per week on domestic chores or household chores. And after having worked and been dependent of male dominance during the war, women then want to resume these roles, and this brought about the second wave of feminism. This movement was actually initially concentrated in the USA, and then it spread to other Western countries. Actually, the first wave was largely concerned with the suffrage struggle for the vote. So the second wave focused more on both public and private injustices. Issues of kind of rape, reproductive rights, domestic violence, and workplace safety were brought to the forefront of the movement, and there was widespread effort to reform the negative and inferior image of women in popular culture to a more positive and realistic one. So this movement was actually triggered by the publishing of Betty Friedan's book, The Feminine Mystic. She was a renowned feminist text, and she was a renowned feminist text writer, and she was credited for daring to break social conventions and norms regarding the portrayal of women, because women was portrayed as a feminine kind of thing or a sex object. Friedan was inspired by Simone de Beauvoir work. Her book was The Second Sex. She published her work. De Beauvoir has published her work in 1949 in Paris. She was a key player in second wave feminism. In 1963, her work was published, and she highly criticized the idea that women could find fulfillment only through childbearing and homemaking. Even the slogan of the second wave feminism was "The personal is political," which identified women's cultural and political inequalities and inextricably linked and encouraged women to understand how their personal lives reflect sexist power structures and how they want to break that stereotype. Friedan actually highlighted the faults of the advertising industry and education system in restricting women to the household and menial tasks that result in a loss of identity and individuality. As a result of her text, thousands of women, white, especially white middle class women, were drawn to the feminist cause, marking the start of the second wave of feminism. And another demarcation of the stage was through legislative measures. The Food and Drug Administration approved an oral contraceptive pill because reproductive rights and abortion rights were another issue for women. So this legality of contraceptive was actually an important step and a vital step towards letting women develop their careers, and they can bring their families, they can even brought up their families on their own. In 1966, an organization was created. The name of the organization was National Organization for Women, which was NOW, NOW. Freire was the first president of that organization, and the founding statement of NOW was the removal of all barriers to equal and economic advance and declare the true equality for all women. That was the aim of that organization. She actually tried to enforce more work opportunities for women, but there was fierce opposition to this demand. So she had to ultimately, or eventually, she had to resign from her presidency. In 1972, the Women's Education Equity Act of 1972 and 1974 provided greater educational equality. 1993, the outlaw of marital rape by all states and the legalization of no-fault divorce greatly reduced the dependence of wives on their husbands and gave them the tools to live healthier lives. These are the achievements I'm telling you, which actually came into being after this second wave of feminism or during this wave. All these successes were impressive, and many believed that the object of female liberation had been achieved. The writer at the time of second wave feminism, her name was Carol Hanisch. Her essay, the slogan, ये जो slogan है, the person is political, this was actually the slogan or the title of her essay. So she argued that even the most private aspects of life, like housework and gender roles, these are politically relevant for women and must be brought into the public sphere. The slogan, the personal is political, is used often today at rallies and demonstrations advocating women's rights. मतलब ये हुआ कि ये जो इनका कहना है द पर्सनल इज पॉलिटिकल, ये एक्चुअली जो वर्ड है वो कहती हैं कि औरत के जो काम है, जो हाउस चोर्स हैं, जो हाउस वर्क है, जो घर में उसके जो जेंडर रोल्स हैं, ये पॉलिटिकली रेलेवेंट हैं वुमेन के साथ, ठीक है, और इनको पब्लिक स्फेयर में लेकर आना चाहिए. अभी ये क्यों डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस और घर में इकोनॉमिक डिपेंडेंसी, सब्जुगेशन, इकोनॉमिक ऑप्रेशन की बात क्यों करते हैं? बिकॉज ये सारी चीजें पर्सनल हैं, ये चार दीवारी के अंदर हो रहा है, बट इसको क्यों पब्लिक स्फेयर में लाया जाए? बिकॉज दे थॉट दैट दीज आर रेलिवेंट, पॉलिटिकली रेलिवेंट फॉर वुमेन, तो इनको हाईलाइट करना चाहिए. अब इस वेव में इन्होंने अपनी अचीवमेंट तो कर ली, इनको मिल गए राइट्स जो इन्हें चाहिए थे, जो भी मेजर राइट्स थे, अपॉर्चुनिटीज चाहिए थी, एजुकेशनल अपॉर्चुनिटीज मिल गई, इकोनॉमिक अपॉर्चुनिटीज मिल गई, ठीक है. बट इशू क्या हुआ कि इनके आपस में ना विमेन, ये जो इन्होंने रोल्स मांगे या जो अपॉर्चुनिटीज मांगी है, जो इक्वालिटी मांगी है, इन्होंने मांगी है वाइट वुमेन के लिए. इसमें इन्होंने वुमेन, ब्लैक वुमेन को भी निग्लेक्ट किया. तो ये भी एक बड़ा इनका ड्रॉबैक था, या इसको कहेंगे कि इससे मजीद रेसिज्म जो है ना वो हाईलाइट हुआ है, या उससे ये वाले रेसिस्ट मूवमेंट्स जन्म ली गई हैं, ठीक है, क्योंकि वो उन्होंने ब्लैक को बिल्कुल निग्लेक्ट किया है, ब्लैक वुमेन को. हालांकि वुमेन की अगर वो बात करें तो एज अ होल उनको चाहिए था, बट उन्होंने निग्लेक्ट किया है. ऑल्दो जो इसका मेजर पर्पस था इस वेव का, इस मूवमेंट का, वो अचीव किया गया, बट फिर भी कुछ फ्लॉज की वजह से या कुछ ऐसी चीज़ें थी जिन जो एथनिसिटी, बाकी एथनिसिटीज़ को इन्होंने इग्नोर किया, तो जिसकी वजह से जो है नेक्स्ट थर्ड मूवमेंट जो है ना वो जन्म लेती है. So we're gonna discuss that third movement later on in the next lecture, inshallah.